On Monday, on the banks of the Rio Grande, they found 2 bodies reaching for US soil. She is tucked inside his shirt, her little arm around his neck. A father and his daughter, not yet 2 years old. Her name was Valeria, and from her family of 3, only her mother survived. In El Salvador, her grandmother said they last heard from their son on Saturday.
Mama, te amo, me puso.
He said, "Mama, I love you." I saw it, she says, as a sort of goodbye. More and more families fleeing Central America are finding their paths blocked. Grief is becoming a weary reality for those left behind. It's thrust America's border crackdown centre stage. For one of the front-runners ahead of the first Democratic TV debate, a defining issue. I've seen that haunting image from the Rio Grande. I wonder what your reaction was and who you think should bear responsibility for it.
So, it is
going to have a chance to ask questions.
It is a heartbreaking
Hey guys,
image.
we're going to have to get off the road,
and
so...
It is a reminder that we have a broken immigration system here in the United States that is maximizing pain and putting people at risk, and it needs to change.
This is where Senator Elizabeth Warren, currently 3rd in many polls, chooses to be, with the debate hours away, peering over the high fences into America's biggest detention center for unaccompanied migrant children. Around 2,000 young people are held here, behind the fortifications put in place by its for-profit operators. Lawyers who can get in come out with testimonies from children about the conditions and strict rules enforced, they allege, under the threat of being held here even longer.
And we must speak out.
Families are wondering what next, with mass deportations threatened and then postponed. This young girl says she's here to ask the senator for help and is warmly embraced.
So what is your message to this little girl?
President Trump is pointing the finger away from himself and his controversial policies.
The tragedy playing out on our border is the predictable result of Democrats' twisted obsession with open borders policy.
Democrats lay the blame squarely with the president, and so America is split.
This is not a shelter. This is a prison.
Not moral, said this presidential hopeful. She and others will point to these fences and ask voters to decide if this is the America they choose. So tonight, the consequences of President Trump's border crackdown will be discussed prime time in the first Democratic TV debate. The field is split, so the second debate will take place tomorrow evening, and that will feature the front-runner, the former Vice President Joe Biden. But this will come up, and Democratic presidential candidates will be saying that Donald Trump now has a record to defend. If this is a crisis, they will be saying it is his crisis, not just the Remain in Mexico policy, which is keeping asylum seekers the other side of the border, and the questions about conditions in camps there and what it prompts desperate asylum seekers to do, but also facilities like this one and the one in Clint, Texas. What about the conditions here? And so it is forcing Americans to confront maybe a difficult reality. And the question is now, how many minds will that change?
Kieran, thank you very much. Well, Chiara Cardelletti is the UNHCR's Deputy Regional Representative to the United States of America and the Caribbean, and she joins us now from Washington, D.C. Chiara Cardelletti, there was global outrage when the image of the Syrian refugee Alan Kurdi was broadcast around the world. Now, this new, horribly tragic image of a father and daughter, will anything change, do you think, as a result?
Well, the situation is tragic, and these pictures that we're seeing all over the news is really calling on us, and it's very heartbreaking. It's very difficult to accept similar pictures being portrayed in the media again. We are surely hoping that similar pictures will awaken the conscience of all governments in the region, for everybody to really take these issues very seriously and try and find quickly some solutions for people fleeing violence in Central America.
What kind of solutions would you be calling for?
We have been calling for regional solutions that aim at ensuring that persons who are seeking protection can find it as closely as possible to home, and that find it in a way that is humane and that provides meaningful reception and safety to people, so that they don't have to undertake a dangerous journey like the one we have seen happening over the past months and years, and that resulting in the tragic picture that is in front of us.
I mean, obviously, this is one horrible individual story, but are more migrants dying? Is your sense that in the last year or so this has stepped up or not?
We have this situation at the southern border, but not just at the southern border, throughout the region, across the migrant pathway, has been going on for several years now. Clearly, the numbers are growing, and the humanitarian situation is getting more and more concerning, with a lot more families, a lot more children moving, and with the resulting consequences that we're seeing. So it's a combination of, between the dangers along the way and the growing number of people fleeing.
And is Donald Trump's crackdown on immigration partly to blame, do you think, as his critics claim?
What we're looking at the moment is a regional crisis of people fleeing persecution and people fleeing violence in large numbers. And this is a situation that needs to be addressed by all governments in the region. One government alone cannot handle this. So we are really calling on all countries in the region to come together in a meaningful way and rapidly come up with an action plan to address this growing number of people moving across the continent.
So building walls is not going to solve the problem, it's tackling its source.
Absolutely. Looking at the root causes of why so many children and why so many women and families are fleeing Central America is something that is of the utmost urgency. The growing number of the changing of profile in the population flees is indicating very clearly that people are fleeing because they find themselves at risk and in danger. And these situations need to be addressed if we want the situation at borders to be addressed.
Just to come back to my first question, I mean, Alan Kurdi's, that image, there was outrage, but it didn't really feed into anything. What is your best hope that this one will actually achieve change?
Governments have been working in addressing this problem over the past years. However, there are needs for much more resolute efforts, efforts that look at the problem comprehensively, from people are fleeing and tackling those, to managing better reception, to managing better local integrations of people who are fleeing, and giving people hope and giving people a reason to stay where they have sought protection. This is what we are calling for, a comprehensive regional program that looks and tackles at all the aspects of this problem in a comprehensive way, so that we do not have to see pictures like this again.